We got a few of our board members on. Good morning, Christina, our board chair, and Chris Shepard as well. Okay, let's go ahead and get started.
And just, Doug, before you get started, really quick, we're going to be recording this. So folks might see a message on their window that says that we're recording. So just an FYI. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. All right. Well, I want to start off by welcoming everybody here. Please mute if you can, please, so we don't get a lot of background noise coming in. Always feel free to interrupt us anywhere during the presentation to ask any questions you might have. I'm one that's okay with getting interrupted and answering questions and then getting back on track. And I know my staff does a very good job of that as well. So anyway, so it was a crazy 2 years, really, 2-year session. And we're really just covering fiscal year 21-22, which would be July 1 to June 30th of 2022. But that also overlaps some of the session years, since the session years are calendar. But anyway, so next slide, please. So just as a reminder, we're a scrappy little staff of 6 folks. Several are on the call here, including Joanne. Joanne's on here, even though she's on maternity leave right now. And congratulations out to her and her husband, Matt, on their little baby, Tony. She's a gorgeous little thing. So, and then, of course, we have an awesome board of 14 members. Christina is on the call right now, Ted as well. Those are 2 of our executive officers. And then next slide. We actually have a full board finally. We were able to fill it in, and these are the rest of the board members. Now, the majority of the board members are local government, just as a reminder, but we also have the private sector folks to kind of round us out. All of these folks are highly qualified individuals, bring a lot of experience to the table, which really helps CPSC do what it does. Next. And then I would be remiss if I didn't thank our cities, counties, JPAs, and districts. Because without you and also our corporate sponsors, we'll get to in a minute, we couldn't do what we're doing. So thank you very much. And for those folks that are sending in their contributions, we really appreciate it. Keep sending them in. I know Nate's been reaching out, so please keep rolling those in. They're very helpful for us to keep going and doing the work we do. Next slide. Our sponsor list, our private sector sponsor list is growing. We've gotten a lot of wonderful companies coming on board, helping us out. We have another one to add. You won't see it here because they just joined, which is at HF&H. They joined at the silver level as well. So they'll be showing up on our presentations and showing up in our on our website now. But this year review covers only through June 30th of 2022. And so that's why you won't see them here. Next slide. So just as a reminder, what CPSC is all about, CPSC was born out of local government. It was born out of the need to take care of bans without a plan, kind of fight those. This was back, really kind of instigated back in the e-waste implementation days of SB 20 and then SB 50, which established the digital display device program and visible fees. But before that, the DFTSC had ban CRTs from landfills, and the local governments could only deal with it as best they could, ranging somewhere between $200 and $300 a ton to get rid of those things back then. So when SB 20 and SB 50 were passed, it helped to solve that problem by providing some funding to it. So, but again, we're all about bans without a plan. We do not want those. We want to have a plan in place, and I'll talk about that a little bit in one of our bills that didn't quite make it all the way to the end of the finish line, but we'll talk about it in a little bit. Next slide. So the board did a wonderful job of redoing our mission statement this last year, and so we have a new one in front of you. I'm not going to read it out loud, but you can see where we're focusing on the circular economy and producer finance and managed recovery programs. So we're just trying to improve the health and well-being of all Californians here at CPSC. Next. So a lot of our program is funded through the local government either through grants or the contributions, but that we do have our tick up in our corporate grants and contributions. Thank you again for our sponsors for stepping up. We have some other revenues that come in, but the majority of our funding is coming from the local governments, either through grants or through contributions. And then we are pretty effective with our expenditures, most of which goes to program work, whether it be things like this, educating the public, doing presentations, working on grant programs, whatever that might be. We do have some that goes to management in general, and that's just our timesheets, doing all of our regular management stuff that everybody has to do, but we keep that as low as we possibly can. And then I'm very impressed with how much we have coming in, and I want to thank all the funders as well. We don't spend a lot on fundraising, and sometimes for a nonprofit that can be a pretty high number. But because you guys are willing to continue to contribute to us, it's making our job easier so we can focus on programs and not on trying to get money in the door. So thank you again for all your contributions that keeps us going. Next slide. Okay, so it was a really, really busy 2-year session. There was over 60 bills that we were tracking just as CPSC. With my other hat on with the legislative task force for SWANA, we were actually tracking almost 170 bills that were waste related. And so the legislators have gotten really engaged. They're very interested in our space now, and that can be good or bad. We try to make sure it's whatever they do is good, not bad, coming out of there. So we get engaged on a lot of different bills. As you can see this list in front of you, but I'll highlight just 3 in particular. AB 2440. You probably already know this. We were successfully able to pass this bill. We co-sponsored this with the Rethink Waste, which is the South Bayside Waste Management Authority over in San Carlos in San Mateo County, and also with Californians Against Waste. We've been working on these battery bills for a long time, more than a decade, and we finally got something through. And so that bill there is going to be a true EPR bill, supported, funded, run, planned, and all that by the battery industry through a product stewardship organization or multiple product stewardship organizations. It's going to basically provide that funding for those local governments that either don't have a collection program in their jurisdiction, or if they do have one, they can replace it with this. And what we're estimating at this point with our convenience standards we put into this bill, there's going to be well over 3,000 collection locations in California. And then with the added caveat on responsibility placed on the retailers. So if you're a retailer with 5 or more locations in California, you also have to participate. And so we're now projecting that these collection locations could be somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000. Now, to put it in perspective, our CRV program here in California is now less than 2,300. So we're going to be way over our CRV program. And so we're really proud of the fact that there's going to be a very convenient system out there for collecting loose batteries. So again, that's going to be the batteries that are your AAAs all the way up to your D cell batteries, your 9 volts. Anything under, I believe it was 11 pounds is going to be, if it's loose, it's in this program, and it's a true EPR. Moving on to our second bill, SB 1215. This bill is now going to expand the e-waste program. The e-waste program has not been expanded since 2005 when SB 50 was passed. And so finally, there's going to be additional funding for e-waste type products out there that are coming into facilities, damaging equipment, causing fires. All these problems we've been talking about since we've been running these bills is now going to come to fruition. It is a visible fee. That's not quite where we wanted to go, but you know what? You gotta take what you can get sometimes to make sure we solve the problem, and that was the ultimate goal, solving the problem. And so CalRecycle will be tasked with establishing the visible fee for each of the products or product categories, but it'll be toys with embedded batteries, it'll be cell phones, it'll be lawnmowers that have embedded batteries, pretty much anything with an embedded battery that can't be out. And there is no exemption for size in this bill. So lawnmowers could be in. And what it doesn't do is it doesn't do electric vehicles. So EV batteries will have their own course. I know there's going to be legislation being introduced on EV batteries this year, so we'll see how that goes, but it doesn't get to that level. But it's pretty much everything else you can think of in your garage or in your house that has an embedded battery, meaning if it can't be removed with common household tools, than it is an embedded battery. There will be some interesting discussions during the regulations process. Is if you have a device that you can beat the battery out with a hammer, does that make it a removable battery? I would say no, but I'm sure that's gonna get tested, so we'll have to deal with that when that question comes up. But basically, if it can't be destroyed in order to get the battery out. That's not the spirit of the law. So we'll see more on that. And then, okay, why am I not seeing 1256 on there? Did we not put 1256 on here? I will talk about SB 1256, which was our other sponsored bill, quote, singly sponsored by CPSC last year. This was for a ban on single-use 1-pound propane cylinders. Those are the camping style. We were focused on just the camping style, trying to get those out of the waste stream. They're causing problems. They're just wasteful. And we got it all the way through both houses with more than a 2/3 vote in both houses, even though we didn't need a 2/3 vote because it was a ban bill. Unfortunately, the governor has decided to veto that bill. He wanted to see an EPR program, but we also speculate that he signed so many waste bills that maybe this was a sacrificial lamb to give back a little bit. And so it was an easy bill for him to veto and then put in the EPR requirement. So we'll be coming back this year. The board has decided that we will pursue a full EPR bill for gas cylinders in general. It'll be the DOT 39, which are the non-refillable cylinders. And it'll be, this time it's going to expand. It's going to be all the different propane cylinders up to, but not including the 20-pound, 5-gallon size, your barbecue size. They have got their own lives. They've got their own system in place. There's no need to mess with that. Why mess with what's not broken? But it will get helium tanks. It's going to get isobutane, butane. And so those other tanks are going to be pulled in. And for the tall boys, for what are called the tall boys, which are either propane, nap gas, or oxygen for the trades to use for plumbing and for electrical, those will be in as well. So more to come on that as we move forward. But the rest of the bills are shown on there. I think the only other one I would probably point out as significant is SB 54 that was passed. And we all know that that's going to be a behemoth of a program for single-use plastics. And so there will be a committee being assembled on that. There's going to be a lot of folks involved in the regulations process, but it'll be a busy time. So lots to come, and there will be a regulations process for both AB 2440 and for SB 1215. So more to come on those regulations as they start to work through those. Next slide. Okay, and on this one, so I mentioned earlier how effective we are as far as operationally, and CPSC is thought to be the thought leader in our space here for EPR and product stewardship. Being part of this organization brings a lot of opportunities to get involved. So aside from the bi-monthly board meetings we have with our wonderful board, we have the monthly associates calls. We also have the monthly PAC calls. And so if you can't get to one or the other, you're usually going to get similar information. The PAC is just more specific just to legislation and regulation, and it also is more engaging for having the PAC members help advise the board on what are priorities that we should be thinking about as we move through the legislative year. And then again, we have 4 full-time employees right now, 2 part-time. You saw those, the 6 folks. So wonderful. My staff is awesome. They're all talented. I'm lucky to have them. They make me look good so I can make the board look good. And so I really appreciate them. And then finally, we're very involved, not just in our own little space here for EPR and product stewardship. We're also involved in a lot of different organizations outside of this. And there's a whole list of them there that all of us and staff are involved in one way or another. So it's really great to have all of us involved in these various areas. So we're covering a lot of ground, not much duplication, which is great because it helps with our efficiency, but we are definitely out there and helping to guide our industry in the right direction. Next slide. Okay, and I think Nate's going to take over.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. That was quite a hefty list of signed bills. You know, as Doug mentioned, we were incredibly busy and active and productive this last session. It's quite a long list. We're very proud of that list. I wanted to chat with you a bit about CPSC's social media presence over the last year. As you're probably well aware, CPSC is very active on social media, and this year was no exception. In fact, this year was probably one of our most active years on social media. We really orchestrated a thorough presence across all platforms. We've also implemented a number of videos and reels, and we've been recognized by publications that are not just focused on California. We've been the subject of many articles written by national publications, in some cases international publications, for the wonderful work that we've done, not just legislatively, but also on our public education work. So we're very, very proud of that, and just wanted to share with you a few samples of the wonderful coverage that CPSC has benefited from. This really raises our profile and helps us spread the word about our mission and the work that we do and why it's to the benefit of communities across the U.S. To do extended producer responsibility, to do product stewardship, and to make a difference in the ways that CPSC is making a difference. Next slide, please. You've probably heard of one of our best known campaigns called Refuel Your Fun and Save campaign. I'll give you a quick intro and then I'll pass it off to Virginia to talk about it in more detail. The Refuel Your Fun and Save campaign, which was started in 2015, purely by CPSC, is to promote behavior change, really, to help folks make the switch from single-use 1-pound propane cylinders to reusables. And it's been wildly successful. It actually resulted in the bill that Doug mentioned earlier in the presentation. And we're incredibly proud of our work on the Refuel Your Fun and Save campaign because it does many, many things that are great for you and your community. It helps reduce waste. It helps reduce GHGs produced regarding the cylinders. It saves local taxpayers and ratepayers money, which in turn save local governments money. It also helps eliminate a lot of disposal and wasting of materials. And it also helps us make that shift, both mentally and physically, from single-use propane cylinders to single-use products to reusable products. So currently CPSC has 12 plus active Refuel Your Fun projects funded at least in part by CalRecycle. We're very, very proud to partner with each of the jurisdictions that we have a Refuel Your Fun project with. And of course, as always, very, very proud to partner with CalRecycle. Next slide, please, and I'll pass it off to Virginia.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for attending today's webinar. Because of the work that we've been doing with the Refuel Your Fun campaign, we've helped to grow the number of locations that one can buy, refill, and exchange a reusable 1-pound propane cylinder. And as you can see from this slide, the campaign has captured hundreds of participating retailers, including Camps Propane, Home Depot, Sam's Club, and Little Camper. In particular, I wanted to highlight the Little Camper exchange model, which has been an essential component of the campaign's growth. The exchange model is in place at hundreds of California locations and is currently being expanded across the country. So we're super excited about that. This allows individuals to come into their local retailers and buy reusable propane cylinders where they normally would find a single-use propane cylinder, as well as to find convenient, cost-efficient refill locations in their states, as well as in California. You can see a map of participating locations on the Little Camper website, or you can go to the Refuel Your Fun website, which is shown on the slide, and we have a convenient map of all of our participating locations. And while it's too early to give specifics, there are very exciting things on the horizon related to some of the logos that you can see on the screen. We also expect to add some more major retailers to join this group in Q1 and Q2 of 2023. So overall, we're really proud of the continued momentum from our partnership with Little Camper, and we intend to go forward and capitalize on this momentum in the coming year. And here you can see some additional pictures of the CPSC team staffing some of our Refuel Your Fun events. When we get to host these events, it's a really unique opportunity to see how implementing the campaign can benefit a community. As you can see by the long list of benefits on the screen, the core of this campaign is ultimately to encourage a behavioral change in the community members, to encourage the change from single-use to reusable propane cylinders. The most important benefit that I want to highlight off of this list is the long-term reduction of 1-pound propane cylinders coming through the waste stream, specifically due to the costs associated with disposing those single-use cylinders, as well as the environmental impact associated with them. So in short, The Refuel Your Fun and Save campaign, as Nate and I discussed in the previous slides, is to provide a long-term solution, which in part comes from promoting reusables all year round, 365 days a year, throughout each season. It's not just a summer thing. By supporting and highlighting those participating locations with customizable campaign materials, as well as social media presence. We really like to harness where people are actually looking to get this information from. And as you all know, one of the core missions of CPSC is to advocate and educate for solutions. And we accomplish that in hosting really fun and engaging cylinder take back and exchange programs in these communities. And we encourage this behavioral change from reusables by consistently sharing social media content to the communities that our campaigns cover. I'm super excited, as well as the whole CPSC team is excited to move forward with our many Refuel Your Fun campaigns that are currently active. And we're very excited about all of the future campaigns that we have coming down the line. And now I will turn it over to Yalin Lee for our next section.
All right, thank you, Virginia. And so as you've been saying, CPSC in the past couple of years have been making great strides in order to encompass more products within our work. And one of the ones that we recently started up was our Marine Flare campaign. And so our goal of this Marine Flare campaign is to kind of do similar to what we do with the Refuel Your Fun campaign, to transition people away from the single-use marine flares into reusable marine flares. And so we've had a great partnership with Serious Signal, which I believe is on the call today, in order to get a discounted rate for these reusable marine flares that you can see in the photos. And so, because we found that the best way to really make this transition is to hand out the reusables into the hand of boaters. And so our projects are focused on reducing this explosive hazardous waste in our waste facilities, which in turn helps save local governments money and consumers money, as well as marine flares, since they are considered hazardous waste, is really difficult for disposal. So currently, CPSC has been working with Alameda County on marine flares, and now that we have 3 active CalRecycle funded grants that are piloting marine flare collection events across California. Next slide, please. And so why is marine flares important? Well, one of the big things about marine flares is that they're really costly to dispose of. One flare can cost anywhere from $7 to about $30 to dispose of, depending on how well we can collect them. And there really is no good option currently for recreational boaters to dispose of them. If they dispose of them themselves, it can cost hundreds of dollars for every individual. So the only way they can really dispose of them if the hazardous waste facilities can take them in. But most hazardous waste facilities don't have the funds to collect these events because they can cost tens of thousands of dollars per event. And why this is important is that these marine flares are full of lots of different chemicals. One of the most important ones is perchlorate, which has a lot of negative impacts to the human health system. And just one improperly disposed flare can contaminate up to 240,000 gallons of water. And we've also had issues, we've heard a couple issues with these expired flares, as that some boaters will just simply fire them off, but particularly at celebratory events like the 4th of July. And when we do this, not only is it illegal because the Coast Guard is falsely sent out on these missions to basically go look for nothing. It costs about tens of thousands of dollars for taxpayer dollars per these misfires. And then it also just takes away from actual emergencies that could happen. And so by kind of transitioning them towards these reusables, we're not only just saving taxpayer dollars, but also saving contamination from the waters, as well as these improper injuries. Next slide, please. And so if you're interested in participating in the Marine Flare campaign, we've been having great partnerships with our current pilot projects, one in Del Norte and Delta Diablo, as well as West Contra Costa, and we have a new up-and-coming one in Oceanside. And so the benefits of joining us in this Marine Flare campaign is that we can have all the partners do a Marine Flare collection event in one weekend, and that saves some money as we can split the cost of these events, because a lot of the costs from these events actually come from the transportation of the marine flares. There's only about 3 sites in the country that will take marine flares, and in order for us to transfer to these sites, we need a DOT certified truck. And if we can spread this cost around multiple partners, it helps make these events more valuable and a better use of taxpayer dollars. And in doing so, you also get access to our really great partnership with Sirius Signal, who has been very gracious of providing us discounted marine flares that we can buy and give out to residents for free. And so if you're interested, please contact info@CalPSC for more details. As we're currently looking for subcontractors, people that we can subcontract for our HD41 projects.
Okay, I think I'm back up here. So normally Joanne would carry this, but as I mentioned at the start of this, she's out on maternity leave. She is joining us today, but she is just an observer today. But CPSC has been working hard to deal with solar panels, because as we know, this is becoming a bigger and bigger issue with the waste stream, as more and more of the panels are first and second generation are coming off for rooftops. There's not a lot of good opportunities to get rid of these. The e-waste providers, so we in our 2 grants with Santa Monica and the City of Santa Monica and Butte County, we ran pilots for collection. These were HD grants to collect these and figure out what they are, what they're not, how can they be recycled. We had 2 great grant partners that were helping us. We had Cal Micro down in Southern California. We had SEER up here in Northern California take in these panels and actually process them, identify them and process them. But before we would even put them through the e-waste facilities, we had some going to reuse. And what we found is there's a large demand for reuse of these panels, because a lot of times these panels are just being taken off because either they've gotten below, say, 75% efficiency, which would typically be your commercial applications, but also your residential, or we got folks that are upgrading their panels. They're adding a electric vehicle charger and a battery system, and so maybe the system they have online right now is quite efficient enough to support that additional infrastructure, and so they're upgrading their panels to be able to do that. And so we're seeing a lot of these coming in. They still are coming into facilities. There's no funding behind that, and that is a challenge right now, is whether or not there'll be funding in the future to take care of these things. I have on good authority that there will be a bill. It has actually already been introduced. It's AB 2. And there's a bill on solar panel take-back programs. It is a spot bill right now. I am working with the author's office to kind of craft this bill and this program and we're working also with the Solar Energy Industry Association, which is better known as SEIA, and also the California Solar Storage Association, which is CalSA, and other stakeholders as well, including Tesla, to come up with a program that's going to work for everyone. And so we'll see how this parlays out over the next year as we start the brand new 2-year session. But we will continue to work on this project. These 2 projects we had for Santa Monica and Butte County have finished, and we've gotten the results, and so we're looking forward to it. And I see Megan, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say, please don't use ours as a model.
Okay. I appreciate that.
And I'll get with our team and we can send you some like super bad things that ended up in our bill that you definitely would want to avoid. So I can send you that list.
Please do. Go highlight them in bold red, and I'll know that
Yeah.
that should be out. Thank you.
Will
Appreciate
do.
that. Okay, and if there's any other questions, so we'll watch and see what happens this year with the solar panel bill by Assemblymember Ward down in the Imperial Valley as this one progresses. Next.
And
Nate,
that's
I
me.
believe you're up.
Yeah, really cool comment on the solar panels. Kudos to Joanne and Yalan for doing such a wonderful job with the pilot programs here in California. This really is a program that's growing by leaps and bounds, and it's great that CPSC is, again, a thought leader in this product category and really finding solutions and working towards the implementation of these solutions. I'll talk about jurisdictions that received.
Nate, before we move on, Jennifer West raised her hand. I think she still has a question about solar panels. Go ahead, Jennifer. You're still muted, Jennifer.
If anybody has questions too, you can also put them into the chat. Feel free.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
There she is.
I'm unmuted. Sorry about that. Yeah, I just wanted to add that Stop Waste is also very interested in the solar panel recycling world, or what to do, not only because we obviously work on recycling issues, but we also work quite a bit on electrification and the calculations to address the built environment with that is really key to what we do. So we're just really glad to have CPSC as a partner in that and would like to be involved more. It's not me so much as a couple of my colleagues, so I'll be sure, and I know they've worked with you somewhat, but just glad to have that collaboration. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jennifer, for reminding me. Yes, we've had some ongoing projects going on with Alameda Stop Waste as they're focusing more on reuse. We've done some grant work for them to figure out what does it take to put these things back into reuse. What about permitting? What about how do the chief building officials deal with this? And so we've got a lot of good information that came out of those projects. We do have an active grant project right now with Stop Waste to continue that work. And so, Jennifer, thank you for reminding me about that, because we really appreciate Alameda Stop Waste and their efforts in this area. All right, Nate.
Okay. Very good. I'll continue on. I wanted to talk with you a bit about the HD39 grant cycle. CPSC is very fortunate to get a lot of our funding from grant partners that actually receive awards from CalRecycle through their HD grant program. This last cycle was probably our most successful. We're working with each of these jurisdictions and organizations on the screen to handle a wide variety of product types. The most popular, of course, is the Refuel Your Fun campaign because it's award-winning and it's so successful, and it really does save local jurisdictions a lot of money, but also on new trending product types like solar panels, marine flares, and the list goes on. The next cycle for this starts in Q1. CalRecycle this year has been moving incredibly fast in review of the applications and starting the new cycles. So if you're very interested, please do reach out to us as soon as possible. We're already crafting a list of folks that have expressed interest in partnering with CPSC. We would love to partner with you and help minimize the use of some of these problematic products within your community and find some solutions to remove them from the waste stream. Next slide, please. Okay, don't rush to flush is the next topic. This is another one of our most award-winning and successful campaigns back in 2018. We worked very, very hard to get passed and ultimately signed SB 212 from Senator Jackson, and it's been a wonderful experience, really. CPSC was very active in the regulatory process in fleshing out the details for SB 212, which has to do with the disposal of unwanted sharps and meds. And the Don't Rush to Flush campaign has really been a highlight within the CPSC's portfolio of work, really. We've been able to make a wonderful impact in our communities. We've been able to place throughout the state literally hundreds of med bins for folks to use. These are amenities within your own local community that you can use to dispose of unwanted medications. Glad to say SB 212 is now up and running and fully functional. We've got approved stewardship plans for both unwanted meds and also the disposal of unwanted sharps. So we recommend taking a look at don'trushtoflush.org. Catch us on social media. Also look at the Pharma and Sharps page on CalRecycle to learn more about the results of the SB 212 bill. And if you have any questions, if you're interested in a med bin, we're happy to help. Just let us know. info@calpsc.org. Next slide, please. Really quick, these are some of the things that I mentioned about the Don't Rush to Flush campaign. It's very similar to the benefits that you would accrue through the Refuel Your Fun campaign. Really, it's all about protecting you and your community. By getting these unwanted medications out of our local waste stream. Don't put them in the garbage, don't flush them down the toilet. It really puts them on the path towards the most ecological way of getting rid of these unwanted medications. It destroys them molecularly and allows them no more to harm the local community. When you participate in a project with CPSC that has to do with Don't Rush to Flush, we also provide you with a lot of free publicity, just like we do with the Refuel Your Fun campaign. We promote you on social media. We make sure that local government websites have you listed as well. We provide additional exposure through promotion on listservs and through press releases, on social media, as I mentioned before, on online maps that we continue to maintain to this day. We also have a very, very strong educational component. What we've done in the past with the California Direct Takeback program is we published in 9 regions across the state this wonderful newspaper insert that talked about what the problem is and why it's beneficial for folks to use the unwanted safe disposal med bins, unwanted meds. And we can do the same within your community. We do ongoing massive public educational campaigns and activities, and we'd love to do this with you. Next slide, please. Next is the STRAC, and I'll pass this off to Yalin.
Okay. Yes, the CPSC has been hosting the statewide Textiles Recovery Advisory Committee, or STRAC, and so it calls upon industry experts in the textile field. And the process of it, they're looking for unique textile solutions, specifically in the legislative world, for this really big issue of unwanted textiles ending up in landfills all around the world. And so the STRAC released their first report last year in December of 2021. Which will be implemented into the upcoming legislative session, what Doug will be mentioning in just a bit.
Okay, and I would add one more thing to Yalin's comments. There is, it's not just landfills around the world, as we've seen now. If you Google textiles washing up on beach Ghana, you'll see that they don't always get in the landfills. They actually end up on the side of the road. They get washed down through the monsoon season into the ocean, and then wash up on the beaches. It's actually a pretty scary view, and why we should be doing something about this, because we are not helping the world with our current programs. Okay, moving into our partnership with the California Foundation for the Environment and the Economy, or better known as CFE. We co-host with CFE and also with the National Stewardship Action Council, which is NSAC, Heidi's group. We co-host an annual trip up to usually Canada and look at EPR programs there in that country, in the various provinces. We take legislators with us who are interested in this space, who want to know more about product stewardship and EPR, see how it works in other countries, what does work, what doesn't work. We are going back again here next year in July. We'll be taking another new trip. These costs are shared between CPSC and NSAC evenly, and then the costs for the trips are covered by the individual attendees, with the exception of the legislators, who are actually their whole trip is paid for by the CP Foundation, and also the funding that comes in from that. And so, as you can see, we had a really good group of folks in our last trip, and this was to Portland, Maine. So sometimes we do go into just another state. We've done that with Seattle and also Portland, Oregon. So now we've been in Portland, Maine. So we've both been in both Portlands, big Portlands on either coast. And then we went up into Quebec, Canada on our last trip to look at how they deal with a lot of different products there. It's very informative. The board, I should say the attendees on these trips learn a lot. It is a fast-paced, almost 7-day adventure. Christina Miller, our board chair, and Colleen Foster, our board vice chair, joined us last year, and Christina had joined us the year before. I don't know if they want to say anything. I know that one of them is on. Christina is on. If she wanted to say anything about this trip, I will cede the floor to her. If she's interested, she could also. So, Christina.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, these trips are incredibly important in terms of developing relationships with legislators, and then also educating both legislators and proponents and perhaps those that are against some of our policies on why product stewardship and EPR are important to our industry and absolutely critical. And so I think I was probably one of the more hesitant board members initially, but after attending, I truly recognize the value of these trips in moving our policies forward.
Thank you, Christina. And so, yeah, so these are, we were finding these more and more useful each year. We've been doing this since 2019. Actually 2020. Our trip in 2019 was postponed. But we've been on, this was the 4th trip we've made, and we fully intend to continue this because it is really helpful for getting legislators in tune with what we're doing. And more importantly, this year than ever, we have 33 brand new legislators coming into the Assembly and the Senate, the most ever, and this is primarily due to redistricting. And so we're going to be figuring out what these new legislators, these freshmen, are all about. What are they thinking about? How involved do they want to get in our space? And so that we can help guide appropriate legislation. So more to come on that. Next slide.
Okay, CPSC Aero Awards. So I know this is a lot of text. I'm not going to read this. I don't expect you to read all this text. I just wanted to highlight what the Aero Awards are. The Aero Awards really are to call attention to the leaders across the state of California that are truly driving a circular economy. And what I mean is when waste from one product becomes feedstock ultimately for the next. So CPSC really is thrilled to highlight these companies because they are so impactful. And they really do talk the talk and walk the walk in achieving environmental milestones. And they really work hard to minimize the environmental impact, both locally and in the state and across the nation and globally by producing products that are more earth-friendly and, of course, more circular. So I'll call out specifically the California Cloth Foundry, Thread House, the Ocean Protection Council, Cal Micro Recycling. Those are our 4 Aero Award winners, but we also gave out an award and recognized 2 very special people and organizations. Spencer Silverstein from the City of Thousand Oaks, a longtime CPSC supporter. We gave him the 2022 Associate of the Year Award, and then also the sponsor of the year, CRRA. We've been partners with them for many, many years. And I can't imagine many organizations that we work more closely with than CRRA. We really do walk oftentimes in lockstep in working towards a more circular economy. So thank you to all of the organizations and people on the screen for your work in driving our economy towards a more circular economy. Next slide, please. So all the things that we've shared with you, each of the members of the CPSC team have shared with you activities and events and campaigns and initiatives and legislative work and educational work that we do that really allows CPSC to add value to your life, to your community, to the state's economy, to your waste hauling organization, to your organization, regardless of where it's involved in the circular economy or in the waste stream. So I just wanted to share with you a couple community testimonials. These are things that people post on social media or they send emails to us. And it really does warm our hearts when we get this kind of feedback, and we really appreciate it because it does prove that the work that we're doing really does add value to your life and to your community, and people recognize that. So thank you for those of you that provided this feedback. We really do appreciate it, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you so much. Next slide. Back to Doug.
Okay, I'm going to bring us to a close here. And so just talking a little bit about the priorities, I gave you a glimpse of this at the beginning of the presentation, talking about where we're headed. As I mentioned, we've got 2 bill ideas that we're moving forward with. The board approved these with some good discussion on what should we be doing, what should we be focusing on. I'm going to actually start with single-use gas cylinders first. And normally we wouldn't have had to do this, but unfortunately, like I mentioned, the bill that we got through the legislature got vetoed by the governor. And so now we're going to be moving forward with a full EPR program for all gas cylinders, compressed gas cylinders up less than 20 pounds or 5 gallons. So there'll be more to come on this. We actually were pretty far in this during the ban bill with Senator Wojtkowski when we were trying to work with the opposition to establish a full EPR program. But unfortunately, the opposition didn't want a EPR program. They wanted a product stewardship program because they wanted to be able to get out of any responsibility wherever they could. And so it was a very low bar bill that they were able to pass in Connecticut last year. And so they wanted us to adopt that same bill. And we said, nope, we want a California style EPR bill. We want you to actually take responsibility for your products. We want you to feel the brunt of the end of life costs so that maybe you're going to decide to do something different. And so we were, Senator Wachowski was very strong and an excellent author for this bill. And unfortunately, it didn't get signed by the governor, but we're moving forward. Then the other one we're going to be going forward with is the textiles. And as I mentioned earlier about the Ghana washing up on the beach issue, that is just one example where these things are hugely, these textiles that are being shipped offshore are hugely impacting our environment. We're not seeing it until finally now, kind of like when the e-waste finally became evident way back in the 2010s, when we saw all this e-waste piling up on the sides of roads in Asia, smelting of the materials with acid right out on the open ground. There were all those bad things that were going on that we were apparently oblivious to. Now we're now we're seeing this with textiles as well, as the folks that handle the textiles ship them offshore for other purposes. Not to mention the textiles that end up in the blue bin and then get it into the MRFs and tangle up in the screens, causing all kinds of problems. So we'll be moving forward with that. And I know Ted has a question. So Ted.
Hey there. Yeah, thanks for the summary. I just thought I would add that we're seeing textiles certainly in encampments, and generally every plastic material that doesn't have an established market, whether that's bottle caps or textiles or anything, we're seeing coming out of encampments. So it's everywhere.
Thank you, Ted. So we expect the textiles bill not to, we would love to see it go through in the first year. We know that we're just introducing this concept now. Joanne and Yalin have been working very hard on the STRAC, working with all those stakeholders in the STRAC to try and come up with lots of good ideas. The STRAC actually provided a report to the CPSC board that's going to help inform us as we move forward with our bill. And so there'll be more to come on that as we're seeking out authors right now. And we'll have more to come on both these bills coming into the new year. Next.
Doug, I just wanted to mention something really quick.
Go ahead.
I really want to thank SFE and the City of Los Angeles and Waste Management for funding the textile pilots. We couldn't have done it really without them, and I think it's worth calling them out. Thank you so much for your support and funding. Thanks.
Thank you, Nate. Appreciate you backing me up there. And absolutely, we really appreciate those grants. We do, not only do we, as you are learning, we're not only are we doing HD grants, but we do a lot of individual jurisdictional grants. And I think we have now 10 active jurisdictional type grants that are non-HD going on right now. So this staff is doing wonderful. We have got a lot of work on our plates, and the staff is doing great, juggling all the balls and keeping us going. And Joanna just mentioned also LA County as well. So we have LA San, which is LA City, and then we have LA County as well. Thank you, Joanne, for chiming in on that one as well. So thank you to all of you folks that are helping us continue our mission. So how can you help? For CPSC, one, continue to fund us. We appreciate that, but then get involved too. Don't just fund us, get involved. We have lots of listservs that you can be on if you're interested in that. Certainly if you'd like to be on the associates calls, if you're an associate funder, please feel free to reach out to us. Nate does a great job at each annual invoicing to try and update the email list for both the associates calls and also for the PIAC for appointments to the PIAC. So if one schedule doesn't work for you, say the associates calls, maybe the PIAC does. And so we can, now the difference is the PIAC is actually an appointed position, approved position by the board. That is because since we talk about strategy on our bills and we talk about a lot of things that will guide the board, we tend to be more careful about who is actually attending those meetings, to ensure that we're all heading in the right direction. So that's why the PIAC is actually an approved, board approved position for a committee. So, and as you can see, we've got a lot of different listserv items on there. Several have now finally been taken care of. The first three, actually four, if you talk about electronics, have all been taken care of. There's a few programs that are existing under for carpet, paint, and mattresses, but there's a lot more work to do. So next slide. All right, I just want to bring this to a close. I want to thank everyone. including staff. Thank you very much for all your hard work. Board members, thank you for, especially you who are on the call, but all the board members, because without staff and board members, we can't do what we're doing. And then, of course, with the funders, all of you that are on the line today, and the sponsors. So the sponsors and the associates, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to lead this organization as the executive director, and I look forward to what we're going to do in the next year. So with that, we can certainly open it up for any more questions. So Christina.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo the importance of supporting CPSC and its programs. CPSC has saved jurisdictions millions and millions of dollars with SB 212, the paint bill, and we continue our work. And if you are a member, we're of course very grateful for you. But if you know a potential member that may be in the works, whether it's a jurisdiction or a special district, we would love to provide some information to them to encourage more participation in CPSC.
Thank you, Christina. All right. Any other comments from any of the board members that are on?
Sure. Okay. I just wanted to, again, say what a great, amazing year the 6 of you have had. And wow, the legislation, getting battery bills, 2 of them across the line, just amazing. And I mean, the grant funding and that now makes up the bulk of our budget, I think is just a real great thing that staff are engaged in. You're sharing your expertise and helping coordinate between communities to try to craft programs that work and help us roll those out. So I really appreciate that. And then kind of an unsung thing, but you mentioned it, which is all the affiliate organization that CPS staff and leadership are associated with. Everything from illegal dumping to carpeting to looking at how the product stewardship programs are actually being implemented, making sure that they're towing the line on what they need to. All those things are really critical, but on the illegal dumping side, for example, I really appreciate that, even though it may seem somewhat distant from product stewardship. Absolutely, the things we're seeing on the ground and in illegal dumping are the next things we're looking to target for legislative action. So again, you're all just rocking it, and I really appreciate each of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. All right, any other questions, comments? Okay, so just as a reminder, I believe Virginia sent out the link or sent out the actual year in review that we created. It's a report that we provide for all of our funders to help encourage them or give them more information, more than what we've covered on the webinar here. And if you, of course, if you ever have any questions about or suggestions, not just questions, please feel free to reach out to us at CPSC, and you can either reach out to me or any one of the staff. You kind of got an idea where they're focusing their efforts nowadays. We did also have a priority product survey. Thank you for those who responded. I think we had the biggest response rate ever. And that certainly helps to inform the board. And so I know that went out as a post. So if you have any questions on the product priority survey, please let us know on that as well. And with that, unless there's any other questions, Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to mention, well, one, thanks for everyone for joining us. It's always good to see so many friends and supporters of CPSC. We are going to be posting the 2022 Priority Product Survey on our website, as well as the recording from this call. So if you know of anyone who's interested, who basically operates in our space and is interested in becoming a CPSC supporter financially, please direct them to the website. And we've got a lot of materials, and we're always happy to have a call or meet with them. So have them reach out to Doug or myself or anyone else on the team, or visit the website. But thanks again, and happy holidays.
Okay, and with that, I also want to wish everyone a safe and wonderful holiday season, whichever holidays you enjoy or you celebrate. And we will see everybody in the new year. We have the new calendar for meetings for next year should have gone out, and we will send that out to the listservs so that the appropriate listservs, so that folks can get those on their calendars. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close the webinar. Thank you very much.